In a previous video, we discussed your most important piece of training equipment, which is your training log. Now, I'm sure you've all watched this video, but we'll link to it up here. And having watched it, I'm sure that you're utterly and forever convinced of the importance of keeping a training log. And seeing as how this is the case, it's time to discuss how to keep a training log. It's not complicated, but it does involve a few basic elements organized in a relatively readable fashion. So with all this in mind, grab a plain old composition notebook and let's get started. First, give each week its own page. We tend to think and plan in these chunks called weeks anyway, so it makes sense to organize our training log in the same fashion. Now, if you complete all of your training for a given week and there's still space at the bottom of your page, don't be tempted to start a new week at the bottom of that page. Just move on to the next page when the new week starts. Now, if you have space on the previous page because you didn't complete all of your training from the previous week, again, it doesn't matter. Move on to the next page when the next week starts. And that empty space at the bottom of that previous page will remind you that you didn't do your job, and hopefully this will compel you to do a better job this week. At the beginning of the week, divide your page into the number of days that you train per week. So let's assume that we're going to train 3 days per week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Here's an example. I would divide my page into 3 roughly equal sections. Now you can divide it horizontally or you can divide it vertically. Both will work. My preference is horizontal. But you can and will fit 3 or 4 days of training, maybe even 5 days of training if necessary, into one page. And dividing this up at the beginning of the week will ensure that you kind of color inside the lines for the rest of your week. So now we've got our blocks. We've allocated a specific amount of space to each training day. And you're typically going to write the day and the date somewhere so you know when you performed this workout. And let's say that we're going to squat and bench and deadlift. So I'm going to write the squat right here. I would probably write the bench press right here, and I'll probably write the deadlift right here. We're going to erase this and kind of zoom in so we can see what we're doing here. Each lift is going to have 4 components. You're going to have the goal or the prescription for the day. You're going to have your warm-ups, and you're going to have your work sets, and then finally you're going to have what you're going to do next. So let's take a look at the squat, for example. If we're going to squat, and let's say we're doing the linear progression, and we're supposed to squat 3 sets of 5 reps. That's the goal. That's the prescription for the day. That specifically refers to the work sets. It does not refer to the warm-up sets. Remember the golden rule, reps are always written second. Now we move on to the warm-ups. So let's say we're going to squat 240 pounds for our work sets. Our warm-up might look something like this. We're going to do the empty bar, 45 pounds, 5 reps, 2 sets. We'll move on to 95 pounds, also 5 reps, just 1 set though. Then we'll do 135 pounds for a triple. We'll move on to 185, 2 reps, 1 set. And then we'll move on to, let's say, 215 for a last single, 1 rep, 1 set. And everything here in between these 2 lines now represents our warm-ups. Then we're doing our work sets. So we have 240 pounds, 5 reps, 3 sets. Remember, reps always goes second. And there's a pretty good reason for this. One reason anyway is that when you're only doing 1 set of something, the 1 is optional. You don't really need to do it. So you can keep it in there to keep the notation consistent. However, you don't have to have this here. So if you don't want to write out the 1s, if you're just doing 1 set, then don't. Just leave that part blank. It's a little bit simpler this way. Then the 4th component, remember, we've got the goal, we've got the warm-ups, we've got the work sets, and now we've got what we're going to do next. So we squatted our 240 pounds successfully, and the next workout is going to be 245 pounds. You'll do this for each lift, but you'll also write down other things in your training log. Maybe you tend to go forward on the squat, so you're going to cue yourself mid-foot. Write that down as a note for next time. Write down mid-foot as a cue that you're going to use. Maybe you tend to forget your belt, or maybe you're going to start using a belt for the first time next time. Write that as a reminder. put my belt on for my last warm-up and work sets, something like that. You can also just write down how the workout went. Maybe snatching went really well that day and you want to note that. These are all good things to write in your training log. It's a great idea to have a PR sheet as well. You can use like the last page or the first page of your training log for that and keep track of your 1-rep PRs, your 5-rep PRs, things like that. These are all good ideas. So that pretty much wraps it up. These are my recommendations on how to keep a training log, but of course, this is your training log. You can do whatever you want. We hope this was useful, and if it was, please let us know. Hit the subscribe button or leave us a comment below or give us a thumbs up. We will see you next time, and as always, we hope this helps you get stronger and live better.